What's up athletes, welcome back to this channel. In this video today, we are going to talk about one of the most common asked questions when it comes to beginner athletes in calisthenics. And this question is actually one of the most important ones when it comes to actually build muscle, get stronger in calisthenics, both in weighted calisthenics and in the skill component of calisthenics, and to actually achieve great results. As you may probably understand, the question is how much time you should be resting in between sets. So before starting to answer about all this question along, which is quite a long topic, let's break it down to three main subjects. The first one is if you're training for skills, the second one if you're training for weighted calisthenics, and the third one is if you're training calisthenics to gain muscle. So let's just get rid of that third subject, because if you're here in this video and you're training calisthenics only to gain muscle, you can just leave this video, go to the gym, get a membership and start moving up some weights, some dumbbells, because that is probably the best way to actually achieve muscles. But if you actually started calisthenics like me and you want to not only gain muscle but actually get better at those two specifically, which is the skills in calisthenics like the straight arm skills, the plunge, the front lever, or even the balance skills like the handstand and the one arm handstand, and if you want to actually get better at weighted dips and weighted pull-ups, this is the video for you, and you should be seeing up to the last minute of the video, because I think the last subject will be the most important one when it comes to how much time you should be resting in between sets. So after we got rid of that third subject, we're not training calisthenics only to gain muscle, let's start with calisthenics for weighted. So if you're training the weighted pull-ups and the weighted dips, there are some variations that you can train them. First of all, you can actually train them to maximize strength, which means you want to achieve a better 1RM at weighted pull-ups and at weighted dips. If that's the case in your period of training calisthenics and your main goal is to achieve a better 1RM, what you should be doing is training weighted calisthenics for maximal strength. And by that, you have to recover really well in between sets in your workouts to actually achieve better results and to gain enough strength to keep continue and growing in this weighted calisthenics journey. So as you probably guessed it, the best rest time in between sets when you're training for 1RM is between 4 to 6 minutes. And why is that? Am I not just putting random numbers into the air? No. Actually, if you want to gain maximal strength, you need every time you're going for the dip bar or every time you're going for the pull-up bar, you need to be well rested and be ready for your next set. Thus, you should be resting at least 4 minutes before your previous sets to actually gain enough recovery and to gain enough strength for your next set. You should be doing your workouts in the rep range of 3 to 6 reps, which means that every set is very intense, very hard on the body, very high intensity, not always close to failure. Don't forget that. You don't have to go till failure, but it has to be high intensity, so you must recover in between sets, and that's why I've said between 4 to 6 minutes of rest. Now let's go to the second subject of weighted calisthenics. If you're training weighted calisthenics, but you're not specifically training to improve your 1RM, so you just want to get better at weighted pull-ups, weighted dips, you want to improve in them in the, for example, 6 to 12 rep range, which is what most of the athletes are doing currently, you can actually rest a little bit less because the overall set is less fatigued on the central nervous system. So by doing a set which is 6 to 12 reps, it can still be very high intensity, very close to failure, but because it's a 6 to 12 rep range and the weight is a little bit low under the belt, you can actually get recovered and be ready for your next set, not by 6 minutes, not by 4 minutes, but maybe even after 3. So for the answer of this subject, if you're training weighted calisthenics between the 6 and 12 rep range, what you should be doing is resting, I believe, between 2.5 to 5 minutes of rest. 5 minutes is really the maximum rest that you will be needing to actually get better and be ready for your next set. especially if you're training at the 12 reps or even above that. Now that we've got the weighted calisthenics out of the way, let's go for our first subject, which is actually and probably the most important one and the one you want to improve the most in it, which is calisthenics skills. Let's again break it down to multiple subjects to answer the question the best I can. Let's first of all start with skills that are not about strength. So I'm not talking about the straight arm skills, but I'm talking more about the handstand and the one arm handstand, or maybe skills that are very technical and not only about maximum strength, like maybe the muscle up, which is a lot about the technique, a lot about the transition between the pull up and the dips, and that's why it's not really maximum strength. So when we are talking about skill like that, the first thing that you need to realize is that you have to rest enough between sets to actually clear your mental side of the skill, because if you're training, for example, for the handstand, you need to be ready each time you're going and kicking to a handstand. Your mind must be clear. You can't be thinking about something else. So the mental side is actually very important in those types of skills. Let's take for another example the muscle up. When you're starting and learning the muscle up, or even if you're actually mastered the muscle up and you want to train weighted muscle up, the key component for this skill is actually the transition. And if the technique will not be right, if you will jump up to the pull-up bar without actually remembering what to do, without your mind being very clear, you will not achieve the best results when you're doing the set. So again, when you're talking about these types of skills, the first thing that you should be doing is resting enough so your mind is clear when you're starting the next set. So let's talk a little bit about the numbers. So if you're training for balance skills or very technical skills, I suggest to rest between 1 to 2 minutes of rest. Now let's move on to the second subject of calisthenic skills, which is actually skills that are driven by maximum strength and maximal efforts. Let's take for example the straight arm skills like the planche or the front lever. When we are talking about those skills, of course that is very important to do the technique right. You should be doing in the planche the protraction, the PPT, the locked elbows, the depression in the shoulders, and same in the front lever. You have to make the shoulders retract when you are starting the movement. You have to make sure that your elbows locked, that there is a good line in between the whole parts of the body. But the number one priority is to actually start the set when you are feeling rested and actually feeling strong enough. As I said earlier, those skills are actually driven by maximum strength, and if you will jump to the set right after doing only 1 minute of rest, you will actually not rest enough and you will feel fatigue, for example, in your lats when you are starting the next set in your front lever. So let's just come back a minute to the fact that when you're trying weighted calisthenics for 1 RM, you should be resting at least 4 to 6 minutes in between sets. Should you do the same when you're training maximum effort skills like the planche or the front lever? You are actually holding your body in a certain position for just 3 to 10 seconds, which means that it's probably about 2 reps to 6 reps, which is actually the exact rep range that I've talked about in the weighted calisthenics subject. And here is the answer for you. If you're training for skills, what you should be doing is resting between 4 to 6 minutes and even above that. For example, when I'm training the planche, I actually have some sets that I feel very fatigued in my anterior shoulders or maybe in my bicep tendon, that I need to rest even more than 6 minutes. Maybe it's 7, maybe it's 8, maybe even 10 minutes of rest in between sets. And yes, you might think like, wait Tomer, that is so much, why are you doing this to yourself? And actually I'm doing it to actually maximize my gains. Again, I need to rest enough in between sets to actually be ready for my next set. So if I want to start a set of front lever and I feel very fatigued in my lats after 7 minutes, it might be better to rest even 2 minutes more and to actually get to the set when I'm really feel ready for that movement. So let's summarize it very quickly. If we're talking about sets that are taking between 2 to 6 reps or 2 to 10 seconds, what you should be doing is actually rest in between 4 to 6 minutes and even above that. If you're going for sets which are taking even more longer than 10 seconds, for example, if you're training weighted calisthenics in the 6 to 12 rep range, or if you're training for endurance in your skills, for example, holding the front lever for as much as I can, and I can do it for 15 to 30 seconds, what I should be doing is resting a little bit less, between 2.5 minutes and 4 minutes, but that's about it. You shouldn't be resting below that unless you're training for skills which are not like the handstand, which you can actually rest in between sets just 1 to 2 minutes, let your mind clear a bit, let your body rest for a bit, and just go again for the same set. Because what you want to achieve when you're training for handstand, one-arm handstand, and muscle ups is just get the technique right and get better and efficient in that movement. So you should be doing more sets and less rest in your trainings. That's it for the video. Hope those answers were quite useful when it's coming to how much time you should be resting in between sets in calisthenics. I've tried to break it down for multiple subjects so you will have all the answers that you needed. And again, if you want to support me and to see more about my knowledge, more about my skills and my trainings, you can follow on my Instagram. There is the name right here on the screen, or you can just go check in the description. And if this video was helpful, please like this video, comment how many times you actually rested in between sets before seeing this video and after seeing this video, and subscribe to this channel if you want to see more knowledge about calisthenics and to get better at it. Thank you, and see you in the next video.